close games yesterday. I would just like to take a second to shout out all the people that have subscribed today. I have seen you in chat. Of course, we've been quite busy, just the two of us on the broadcast right now, so I haven't particularly been watching, but thank you everyone who's been giving support to us. We've been trying to provide the best quality broadcast we can today. Of course, we've been having some minor technical difficulties, which hopefully will dissipate, but we are kicking off into this game. It is the Yacht boys who came second last week versus Cavys' dad, the new wildcard team that actually have the BlizzCon champion Joe Fernandez as their fourth member, so they must feel quite confident in this FLS if they're going to choose to bench him again. We do see the RMP pushing in. They get the sap onto T-Bow. Maybe they're going to purge him. They do purge him down. Maybe they're going to open it up onto T-Bow. It actually looks like maybe they're opening into Inferno, and I'm quite surprised about this. I'm really expecting to open onto T-Bow. I'm not sure what's happening. The triple fair comes out, and there is that opener, but he doesn't get the tremor. Actually, just broke to the orb. Unfortunate for the Yacht boys, but they're doing so much damage, actually down to 20%. The Grow comes out, he has to Trinket Link. A good opener for them. The offensive evasion coming out from Theseus, the no peels were able to come out. We see the Healthstone coming out from Cavy. Cavy, of course, playing that feral Infeast cat. He has popped his offensive cooldowns, but a nice gouge from Theseus is going to shut that down into the cheap shot. They're just doing whatever they can to shut down the pressure. Miley not really having to do any healing right now. You can see his mana's super high. The barrier comes out, just trying to shut down as much damage as possible. The shield wall from Theseus. They're just trying to peel for this incarnation.
Do you think it was a misplay from T-Bow to use his trinket and not his stone form on that silence? It seems like it might have been maybe his panic state.
You can't stone form out of the silence, I think, just the bleed.
You can't stone form out of the growth silence. Okay, interesting. It seems like there's a sap right now onto the Feral Druid. They're just trying to shut him down on the Incarnation and look for a swap to him, I would imagine, here as they land the Ring of Frost. Here comes the stun onto the Feral Druid. He's in a lot of trouble. He may need to trade out his trinket. He's trying to be greedy. He trinkets out of the 1 second stun into another stun. He's trying to stay alive here. That trade of Survival Instinct should be enough, but that's exactly what the Yacht boys were looking for, was that Feral Druid's trinket. It's very important that they get those trinkets to set up a kill later, because they have Smoke Bomb available to prevent line of sight and prevent any healing for the Feral Druid. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can set up that Smoke Bomb or not. It looks like the cheap shot has been dropped. They're looking to get a kill here onto the Feral Druid. They land a full fear over onto T-Bow. Infernion in peel mode, doing a good job so far, breaking up quite a lot of damage. And these fears from Infernion were just enough to keep the Feral Druid alive. Great plays from Infernion. He's going to keep his team in the match.
Yeah, nice gouge from Theseus on the Aura Mastery of T-Bow, though. Does keep Cavy quite low. He's down to 40% right now. If they can get any follow-up CC, it doesn't look like it, though. Unfortunately, T-Bow just able to get those casts out. Gelubaba's CS was down for just a few more seconds. That was so close to being there, maybe being able to keep him low for that next go, but he is down to 80% right now. They're looking to set up. There's no trinkets available for 10 seconds on Cavy's dad. Well, Infernion does have it, but if they can land the CC, that won't matter. Gelubaba is sitting at about 60%. A nice triple Shadow Fury on that setup. We should deny them any CC off on T-Bow, but he does get the deep freeze off the fair. Can they land the ring? He's trying to land it desperately, but nice peels coming out from both Cavy and Inferno is going to shut that down. We do see the Demon Soul. They're trying to counter pressure. A full fair onto Miley. Theseus so low. The trinket coming out from Miley barely in time, keeping him alive, hovering at about 50%. The evasion, of course, used as well. They're swapping up over onto Gelu. Excellent survival skills there by Cavy's dad, and that's actually going to keep them back in it. T-Bow's trinket's now back available. Cavy's is up in about 30 seconds. They're looking quite good right now, and Miley's man is down to 30%. He is dispelling. Maybe he needs to go for a drink soon, but I'm not sure if Cavy's dad should allow that. They do have the defensive cooldowns available to stop that should they require.
Yeah, but Miley is slowly but surely running out of mana, and that's going to be the weakness they're trying to exploit. But they're looking for another attack onto the Yacht, or onto Cavy's dad. We see a full stun onto the Feral Druid, now into another stun. Do they have enough damage to finish him off? Maybe they do. We see a Survival Instincts come out. T-Bow was forced to trinket. That should be enough to trade off to keep the Feral Druid alive. And now with Incarnation coming up in about 7 more seconds, they're going to be looking to set up a kill. Thesia has no trinket, but the pre-combat readiness, predicting the stun and getting that wall up was very important for Thesia to survive right now. But unfortunately, the Feral Druid Cavy didn't fall for that. He didn't use the Incarnation. He's holding on to it. But here comes another attack from the Yacht boys. The Feral Druid caught into a stun. He has his trinket. Surely he needs to trade it out. He's going to trade out that trinket, get the Survival Instincts up, and now that he's in a very defensive position, maybe he can counter pressure, pop the Incarnation, try and make something happen. Oh, he DR'd himself to Polymorph there. This could be important. Now he pops the Incarnation. He surely is going to get blinded on this, I would imagine, by Thesia. Maybe he doesn't have it available. They're going to clone up Miley on the pain suppression. Good clone from Cavy the Feral Druid. Now Thesia in a lot of trouble. Still, trying to predict the plays earlier with that shield wall could mean that he's exposed to die right now. That feint is falling off. Can they finish him off in time? Miley just countering all the damage, picking him up there. Great heals from Miley to keep his team alive, but he's running out of mana. This could be their last chance to get a kill here. There's no trinkets available. Infernion has to keep his team alive. He goes for the Shadow Fury, but it's just a little bit too late, and the counterspell on the Fear will secure the game, and the Yacht boys are going to take first blood.
Yeah, that was a really well executed finisher from the Yacht boys. Cavi and I mean Infernion and his feral friend were doing excellent work of draining the mana from Miley. He was actually down to about 10% mana at the end of the game, but the Yacht boys identified this. They knew the game was going to end soon, one way or the other. So Gelu Baba able to use that offensive ice block, preventing the Shadow Fury, preventing the fears from Infernion. And he identifies there's no trinket on the Feral, no trinket on the rest of Shaman. They will get the kill if they land the Deep Sheep, and they do land it. The Fears as well. Excellent CS by Gelu Baba, because I know Infernion is one of the best Warlocks at faking those CSs. So I think they probably had the kill by then anyways. He had to go for the cast, but excellently secured. It wasn't even close to them surviving that. Well played by the Yacht boys.
I'm interested to see if Cavy's dad are gonna. Cavy's dad. Cavy's dead. Well, Cavy is technically dead. But I'm curious if they're gonna bring Joe in or not. It seemed like with the Priest version, the FLS didn't seem to be doing too well. I mean, they were pretty close to a victory on mana, but then Cavy just maybe overextended too far with that incarnation. I don't really blame him. They kind of set that up in a good position. He cloned the pain suppression, but he just got caught out in the middle of the map, and nobody had a trinket to save him. And it seemed like they had the counterspell that time to stop Infernion, and it just completely switched the match around. So I'm curious to see if they even decide to play FLS again.
I completely agree. And we actually have our host D Machine is back. Can we get some PogChamps in chat, please?
What's up, guys? Thank you for being so patient with us. But for real, a special thank you to Healing Stat as well as Supatees for putting the games on through it all. It's pretty incredible. We ran into so many technical issues today. We had a technician come out and do everything he possibly could, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, he still needed another 24 hours to get everything fixed. But that being said, Supatees and Healing Stat really stepped up to the plate and still provided us with all of the games. So special shout out to you two. Seriously, thank you guys so much. But yeah, so far I've been really enjoying these games. That RMD mirror was pretty hype, pretty PogChamp, and I'm super pumped to jump right back into the action. And but that RMP going up against that FLS, that was something. I absolutely love that Thasia is actually playing multiple classes. That I think is a really big deal, and I can't wait to see what these two teams choose going into game number 2.
And of course, Miley actually logging onto that disc priest was perhaps a slight. We did mention he had it available, but I was never really expecting it. RMP, of course, not traditionally considered as strong as RMD, but they took the game. It wasn't convincing, but they did take the game. I wonder if that's going to be enough for Cavy's dad to maybe up in the BlizzCon champion Joe Fernandez. I mean, I feel like when you have him on the bench, they swapped him out. They swapped him in for their series yesterday, and they 3-0'd it when he came in. So maybe they could do the same today. Maybe cue the WLS. I feel like that extra little bit of damage coming up from the warrior, and the fact that you don't have a feral to train. Rogue Mage is very good at killing ferals. They're not so good at killing warriors necessarily. So
you just want to see Joe Fernandez, man.
I just want to see Joe Fernandez. I mean, I'm trying to do the logic. I just want to see him, man. Like, it's not fair.
Sound the fanboy alarm.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big Joe Fernandez fan. I mean, he gave me his hat and everything, so
that's true.
I've
seen you wearing it on quite a few broadcasts.
I'm pretty proud of that hat.
Don't lie, you stole that hat. He was sleeping. You got him really drunk. He was asleep. You stole that hat.
There's inside knowledge coming out from Supatees right now.
It's true. He was there at the event. If there is someone who knows the true story of how I acquired the SK Gaming hat, it would be him. But I wear it with pride. I'm like, yep, this is BlizzCon champion Joe Fernandez's hat. But I don't know. I mean, this is his first GCD Pro League tournament, and you know, I feel like when you've done something like one BlizzCon, all of a sudden you have like this sort of weight on your shoulders where people are like anticipating a lot from you. You know what I mean? He's with a whole different team though going into the GCD Pro League, so he's kind of like starting fresh, starting new. And let's see if he still has his old ways. I mean, we saw that match in the qualifiers, crazy amounts of damage running that kitty cleave. I'm anticipating some amazing games from him, but I don't know. They may or may not run with Joe Fernandez. They may stick to their guns. I don't know. That was a little bit of a delay time. Usually when we have a little bit of delay time like that, I just anticipate something changing.
Yeah,
And
something
it looks
changing.
like the next map is going to be Ruins of Lordaeron, a super small map, very in-your-face type of map.
And the Yacht, we can't rule out that it's the Yacht Boys that changed something as well. I mean, they're aware
Right.
that there's other comps available on Cavys Dad, and they do have a ton of comps available. We've seen Miley has played the Priest, the Paladin, and the Druid already for his team. Thessia has played that Rogue and that Mage. They do have a lot of options. Of course,
Oh,
Prophecy sitting on the bench right now, and
oh.
we do see Joe Fernandez has come out, and it is the same RMP for the Yacht Boys. The comp swap to WLS. This should be a very interesting matchup.
Oh, baby. It's sub RMP for the Yacht Boys going up against Joe Fernandez and Fernion and is that Chart? I'm just going to call him Tebow. And Tebow on the Resto Shaman. On Ruins of Lordaeron, nonetheless. I mean, I feel like we've seen this matchup before, not necessarily that much with the Priest, but Ruins of Lordaeron definitely gives opportunity for both teams to find opportunities to outplay mistakes, maybe, from either team. But I'm really excited to jump right into this and see how Cavys Dad is going to survive the onslaught of the RP in game number 2.
And without Cyclones for defensive utility, I'm wondering if Tebow is very vulnerable to getting trained down. So I think the Runes of Lordaeron pick was for Tebow so he could hide in the back of the room. But even still, I'm wondering how resilient the Yacht Boys can be to the kind of damage that Cavys Dad is going to dish out. So Cavys Dad's damage is very slow-paced, AoE-oriented, and it's not immediate or punishing. So let's see what the Yacht Boys decide to do. We see a cheap shot early on to Infernion, and he appears to be the opening target. But a triple fear out from Joe Fernandez is going to pause the game entirely. Now a Stormbolt over onto Thasia. A lot of damage following up. Thasia actually choosing to Trinket and Evasion. I think that was a good reaction to the recklessness out from Joe Fernandez.
Yeah, an excellent opener for Cavys Dad. They didn't have to use any defensive coins, but now the Yacht Boys are going offensive. The Fear's been used already. The Vigilance comes out instantly from Joe Fernandez. We were talking about the lack of Cyclones. That Vigilance is certainly going to make up for them. The Healthstone, they need to hold their Trinket here. The Rallying Cry, they're doing everything they can to hold the Trinket on Tebow. There is that Spirit Link. Well played by Cavys Dad, able to hold that trinket. It's very significant for them going into the later part of the game. The blind is still available. They could force it out easily, the Yacht Boys. But now Cavys Dad need to show what they're worth. They need to get the pressure going. They have one Demon Soul available, but it's not up right now. Rex has already been popped. The Stormbolt comes down to Thessia. They're doing damage over to Gelubaba. Maybe I'd have liked to see that onto Miley, but maybe he was on stun DR from a Shadow Fury or something like that. We now see the blind onto Tebow. They're going offensive here. The DR Fair, can they follow it up? Gelubaba trying to land the sheep. He does land the DR sheep, the kidney onto Infernion. Lots of damage coming out. Joe Fernandez sitting in a root. Can they get the defreeze off there? It doesn't look like it's available. They actually get the defreeze. He gets the healing stream between. He's down to 30% HP. Infernion could go down here. Looks like he's going to be okay. There's no follow-up CC available for Tebow, and well survived by Cavys Dad. Nice fears coming out now from Infernion.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of pressure on Infernion, and Shadow Dance is available for Thasia, so I'm curious to see how they're going to set this up. Tebow actually got locked on his heel. Infernion's on the run once again. Thasia's popping that Shadow Dance. They could finish him off. He saps Tebow out of the lockout. Are you kidding me? Tebow has his trinket, but he doesn't want to have to trinket a sap. Infernion now getting pressured fairly hard here. They follow up the sap with a fear, and this RMP is on fire. Infernion down to 24%. Tebow forced to trinket a half-second polymorph. Is he going to drop the link? He's so ballsy. He gets deeped without dropping the link. Will that be enough to finish him? It's going to be. Infernion's going to fall, and the ballsy play from Tebow is going to cost them the game number 2 on Runes of Lordaeron. Sick plays from the Yacht Boys.
Yeah, I feel like a few misplays came out from Tebow there. Like, after he came out of lockout, he does have time to regain combat, but unfortunately he dropped the grounding totem as his global, maybe not anticipating that sap from Thessia, so I think that was a perfectly legitimate sap. I'm sure a lot of people are spamming sap bug and all this stuff, but that was actually a well-identified situation from Thessia, and they were able to follow it up with the fear. He did have that gap for the Spirit Link, but he just wanted to hold on to it. He knew it was on CCDRs, but a nice deep and a silence coming out from Miley was enough to secure the game, and they're really up against it now. This is 2-0 to the Yacht Boys.
Wow. This is pretty impressive play coming out from this RMP. It really is. Going into the third game with a 2-0 lead, it's got to be feeling good for this RMP, comp swamp or not. But man, that sap, that was pretty crazy. The lockout sap is something that you don't really see all that often. And I mean, like, the Tebow obviously didn't anticipate that. as he got, as like you said, he dropped the grounding instead of the spirit link there. But I feel like this warrior lock shaman going into game number 3, they got to be playing a little bit more safe moving forward. Maybe not be so frugal, because it doesn't seem to be working out for them. But at the same time, you got to find that harmony, especially as WLS. If you're using too many defensive cooldowns too quickly, the RMP will, you know, their setups will just overwhelm you eventually, and you'll just run out of buttons. So it's really hard to be able to find that harmony between pressing too many buttons too quickly and pressing the right buttons at the right times. But that's what makes these players so good. So we're going to be getting into game number 3, figuring out what map choice we're going to be going to. Ruins of Lordaeron didn't really seem to do all that much, but at the same time, they might want to be a little bit more in their face to be able to peel them a bit more. Maybe we're going to Dalaran. Oh, there it is. Dalaran Sewers is going to be the map choice for game number 3. I like that map choice, but it doesn't seem like these map choices are really doing that much of a difference against the plays of this RMP. But we're gonna find out what happens next in game number 3. I mean, we've seen some bigger comebacks than this in previous matches before. So Cavys' dad, they're not out of it just yet.
But I mean, we just saw just now the RMD mirrors reawakened, almost
Yeah.
pulled down from 2 slightly bad losses, and maybe that could be called a bad loss from Cavys' dad. I feel like they could have survived that. Maybe they wouldn't have won the game necessarily, but I think they're going to be kicking themselves just a little bit for that one. We saw reawakened; they almost managed to pull it back 3-2 in convincing style. These teams kind of get a surge of adrenaline maybe when they realize they're up against it. They're 1 game away from dropping out into this lower bracket. Of course, no one's been knocked out yet. Teams are just getting knocked out into this lower bracket, but it's such a strong lower bracket. You don't want to be there because you've got such a tough ride to get to the final with the teams that you can already see down there. Cavys' dad are definitely up against it, but they're going to be wanting to maybe see if they can just survive this open. If they get a nice fear from Joe Fernandez again, like they did in the last one, the vigilance and stuff, all these cooldowns are going to be enough maybe for them to survive this opener nicely, and they just need to get their offensive pressure going after they do that.
Ooh, unfortunately, the safeguard was used onto T-Bow, and they're actually opening onto Infernion, so the safeguard going to be not very useful here. And now they're setting up the swap. Good recognition from the Yacht boys. They're bursting down T-Bow very hard. He needs to be careful. He's caught in the kidney shot into the Grotonzi. Trinket links barely in the nick of time to keep himself alive, and Joe Fernandez even got scared there. They traded out the rallying cry. Now the Ascendancy gets gouged on the Ascendancy heal. Can they stop the cast? They cannot. T-Bow needs to try and top his team off. Everybody's at half HP. This is not what you would expect in this matchup, and T-Bow's just still struggling. We see the safeguard out once again from Joe to reduce some damage on the T-Bow, but Deja's just training him down.
Yeah, T-Bow's still in a lot of trouble. He gets put into the kidney shot. He didn't even top himself. The deep freeze onto Joe Fernandez. If they can follow up with a sheep, they can maybe get the kill here. T-Bow looks like there's no follow-up, unfortunately, off that kidney, so he's at about 60% of the Demon Soul from Infernion. This RMP has to be very careful right now. They might be overextending. Gelu Baba forced into that ice block. Miley struggling a little bit with the healing. He gets feared up. He does have dots. It should break. The block comes out. Maybe they can land some CC. A nice grounding from T-Bow. It's going to deny that, but they do get the sheep anyways. They're swapping up over onto Infernion. He's down to about 70% right now. If they can follow it up with the fear, perhaps they can get a lot here. They overlap the fear of the DR Sap, unfortunately. Infernion's still dropping low though, down to 50%, and this RMP is rotting. The deep freeze comes out. It's not going to be enough, I feel like, for them to get the kill. They do get the regen though, and they might actually get the kill. He's down to 10%.
What?
They need to link, and he actually dies.
Oh my god, I don't think they were expecting that. They chained like a series of very small CCs. It wasn't a full polymorph or something 8 seconds. It was like a 1 second garrote, a 1 second deep freeze, a quarter second silence from like very small CCs that like you're like, oh, you're fine, I'm in a 1 second silence, you're fine, and then another one comes and you're like, okay, maybe you're not, and I don't know, the Yacht boys look pretty dominant on the RMP.
They even had the blind available. They used the blind after they killed onto Joe Fernandez as kind of a statement that they could have still DR blinded T-Bow as well. I mean, it looked quite close, but they actually had a fair amount of overkill, and I certainly wasn't expecting that because to me, it just looked like the RMP was starting to rot and they hadn't got the kill with their CC, but they proved me wrong and they take that series 3-0.